Just in case you missed it, the SEC came out swinging this week with back-to-back lawsuits against the biggest crypto exchanges in the United States. While it shouldn't be a shock that the SEC thinks everything should be a security in the crypto industry, there are some serious implications and problems that can arise from this. We'll cover some of those effects around the crypto industry as a whole, and then some of the effects we'll see in prices such as Bitcoin, Binance, and other altcoins as well. Hey everyone, welcome back. Before we get into the video, make sure you go follow our Twitter and newsletter so you can keep up on more updates on the markets, things that are happening aside from our YouTube channel. Both those links will be in the description down below. Today we have quite the video to unpack. We have a lot of things to go over, so I'm going to go pretty quick through a lot of these things, so feel free to pause the video at any point. But before we actually get into the news and events that happened recently with Coinbase and Binance and the whole regulation, let's just look at crypto in 2022 and how much of a shit show it was. But even looking at how bad 2022 was, we're still in such a resilient point in terms of Bitcoin's price and getting rid of a lot of these shit coins that we have in the market. In 2022 alone, you could see that all of these marks, dark blue, the light blue, the green, the yellow, these are all things that happened within the crypto industry that took a massive hit. And even through all that, the crypto industry has still been pretty resilient, considering that Bitcoin still has a market cap of over $500 billion, which is pretty insane. But on to today's news. Binance and Coinbase have been sued by the SEC, basically because the SEC thinks that everything with crypto related to it should be under the SEC's rule and it should be under the securities. And to make matters worse, the SEC has also put out an order to freeze Binance.US's assets to quote unquote protect the customer funds. Now, as a response to all of this, Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, came out and put out a tweet just about yesterday at around 12 p.m. And he's basically saying that we're going to fight this, but at the same time, we've also played fair ball with the SEC, and yet they're still coming after us. If you really take a look back, Coinbase is probably the most compliant and transparent crypto exchange in the United States, and yet they're still having problems with the SEC. So there really is nobody who is safe in the United States when it comes to the crypto industry. And this is somewhat of scary news because if you look back to April, Coinbase was also launching its international exchange outside in the island of Bermuda. And the main reason is because they can't get any regulatory sense out of the SEC. And so they're making it extremely hard for Coinbase to operate in the United States, literally forcing them out of the US and forcing all this innovation out of the US as well. Which again, when you force innovation and opportunity out, someone else will pick it up. And that's when Hong Kong is now becoming the regulatory leader to set up a major crypto hub, which when all of that innovation and all those companies and all that money moves, it's going to be extremely hard to try to get it back in the future, back into the United States. But again, Binance came out with a response, as you think that they would, basically saying that the SEC wants to restrain all of the money in Binance.US to make sure that the users are safe and secure. And Binance is basically calling them out and saying that this is an unwarranted, and it's based on the SEC staff to take advantage of this instead of actually trying to keep the customer safe. So we got a whole legal battle going back and forth of the SEC and basically the two biggest crypto exchanges. And before we get into the charts, I want to show you this 10-second clip that basically summarizes the entire United States and the crypto industry. Basically, you can see there are 33 different countries around the world that are updating their regulatory status in terms of crypto because they want to make it a clear ball game. And when you look at the United States, they've done absolutely nothing except for serve lawsuits. So it really does make you wonder, is the United States doing this on purpose? Is there a person behind the scenes? Is Gary Gensler even the one who wants to call these securities, or is he just kind of the scapegoat? When you really break it down, in my personal opinion, I just think it's because we have such large centralized banks who don't want to lose power to the crypto industry or lose any money to them. So it's in their best interest to stop this innovation and continue with the traditional system that we're under right now. Now, looking at Bitcoin's price action and what happened when this all went down, as you could see right around here, right around this time frame, this is when we had the news, and that's when Bitcoin dropped around 6%. Now, immediately after, it kind of gave it like the middle finger reversal and basically said, we don't care about this lawsuit. Bitcoin is going to do whatever it wants, and we're just going to go back to basically a normal high. So the 6% dump in Bitcoin's price was immediately recovered, and it's basically like nothing happened. And this news really wasn't that effective. Now, there are two things I do want to point out. If we do zoom out a little bit, it is very interesting where this price action landed up. If you look at the 4-hour time frame, you can see that we have some highs right around here that were taken out that are very interesting. Maybe a lot of short-term traders had money right above these areas, and then you had a massive wick to the upside. If we take that same exact line and then copy it to the bottom, we also had a potential, right? We had potential traders down in these areas where they probably had stop losses. And so it's interesting that during this news event, we had a spike to the upside, maybe taking out a lot of these sellers, and a spike to the downside, taking out a lot of these buyers. So again, this is just to prove a point that it is, one, very important to be careful when you're day trading or short-term trading, and two, there's market manipulation on every time frame. 4-hour and short-term time frames, it's a lot easier because it doesn't take as much money or liquidity to move these markets. But do you really think it's a coincidence that during this news event, when all this came out, the market spiked above these local high and lows? Probably not. Now, when we're talking about the long term, what's happening with Bitcoin? Now, the biggest thing that I want to get across, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, is that while we may or may not be in a recession, depending on many factors, we do have to understand that a bull market is extremely unlikely. And this is what always happens. The year right before the halving, we lose a ton of interest in crypto. Everybody leaves. And two, the price just doesn't really do anything. And again, even if we are in this maybe mild recession or economic downturn, do you really think that's going to push crypto to the upside, even Bitcoin alone? And on top of that, with all this regulation, the United States has a lot of money in crypto and Bitcoin, so making it difficult to put money into it from one of the largest investors, that's also going to dampen the price. So for the next several months, probably the rest of 2023, what we're going to see out of Bitcoin, I wouldn't be surprised if we just kind of lag all the way down back to those low $20,000 marks. And again, when we're talking about Binance specifically now at this point, one of the largest altcoins in the top 10 for basically since it's existed, you could see the story is very different in terms of how its price reacted. You could see we had a massive downturn when a lot of this news came out, because if Binance does get kicked out of the US, they're losing a lot of trading volume that way. But also, not only that, we have a second leg that looks like it could be moving down as well. And again, when you talk about market manipulation, just look at these lows and look at this wick and just look at how perfect it takes out these lows. So again, short-term trading, very dangerous on these types of crypto assets because of the volatility. But again, when you're talking about altcoins, especially ones that could be affected by these regulations and these lawsuits, there's absolutely no reason at this time to be investing into actual altcoins. And as you could see, since the finality of the FTX collapse here in the end of November of 2022, we're looking at the Bitcoin and Binance pair at this point. So if the chart goes up, that means more money or more value is being represented in Bitcoin than it is in the Binance coin. And ever since this point, Bitcoin has been absolutely tearing up the market. Why? Because all the money is now channeling into Bitcoin. And there's a reason for that. One, Bitcoin is seen as the safe haven, especially during downturns, right? Altcoins are very risky. They're very volatile. And so when things get weird, a lot of that money funnels out of altcoins into Bitcoin. And then when things get really bad, that money funnels out of Bitcoin into basically other assets. And just remember, right around here in November, Bitcoin has been taking the dominance of the entire market. And even if we look at the Bitcoin dominance, you'll see that as well. Right over here, September of 2022, or again, November of 2022, Bitcoin dominance has risen from 40% to 48%, basically taking 8% of the entire cryptocurrency market. And when we do take a look at the entire market of just the altcoins, so this chart represents the entire market cap of altcoins, excluding Bitcoin and excluding Ethereum. It's only at around $339 billion, which is quite a bit of money. But Bitcoin's market cap alone is sitting at $520 billion. And another thing is that when we're talking about just the altcoin market, it really does not look like it has any strength to do anything whatsoever. As you could see, it's just kind of like falling. And for the last basically June of 2022, it has done absolutely nothing in terms of market cap. It's just fluctuated over here. And again, I wouldn't be surprised to see it continue to fall and fall and fall until we reach levels of the low 300s or even 250 billion. So what I'm trying to get at here is get out of altcoins until we see some change in terms of the Fed, economic news, and regulatory issues. Those are the three massive things that are continuing to dampen the crypto markets, and really at this point, every single market. But that's everything that I have for this video. Obviously, there's so much more that I can cover in terms of this crypto lawsuit and the regulatory. But again, there's so many more channels that are better than mine to face on those issues. But I just wanted to cover what's happening and what we could see with price action. But until the next video, I'll see you guys then. Peace.